Welcome everyone to a Good Vibes Gaming discussion. We've already given our games of the year, the top 3 games that impressed us throughout 2021, but you know what? There's a few categories we want to mention that still have standouts. So they might have not been our games of the year, but they still excelled in other ways that we wanted to highlight and really talk about. So yeah, we have 10 categories here that we ran down. I think Ash picked most of them. So thank you, Ash, for deciding what we exactly going to talk about. We nixed some, we added some, we got all these kind of worked out. But yes, I am joined once again by my good friend and GVG co-founder, Ash Paulson, joined again, stumbling, but hello, Brandon Miracle Man himself, our editor, as well as Daniel Alba, our graphics design man. Welcome both of you. Welcome all of you back. Let's close out 2021 and talk about some more great games and how they excelled this year. Because, that's always fun. Let's talk about the excellent parts of a year and just push all the bad parts aside because there's too many a lot of the time.
Right.
Let's just go. Oh, goodness. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get to our first category, which is best graphics on the technical side of things. Just the sheer bleeding edge, you make you tear. It looks so beautiful when you look at it. What
visuals
game
made your brain melt the most?
Exactly, just looked the best. And just to break it down, we're going to just have one winner from each of us, and we'll be talking about. But we'll also have a runner-up that is just going to be mentioned, but not actually discussed because we got a lot of categories to get through. So we're going to keep this thing moving. So
yeah, if we did a top 3 for each category, we'd be here for hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Ash, what game was your runner-up and best graphics and for the technical side of things?
So there won't always be overlap with my my actual top 3 games of the year, but in this case, there are, because Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, no game looked better on the technical side of things for me this year than Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and I don't think that's that surprising. I mean, part of what I talked about and we talked about when naming it as some of our top 3 games of the year is just how unbelievably gorgeous that game is from both just a raw visual perspective, also, not to mention the character animation, all the different weapon effects, all the explosions, particle effects flying everywhere. This game, the environments, this game is absolutely just unbelievably gorgeous to behold in person, especially if you're playing on a nice 4K screen, HDR enabled. I was lucky enough to play it on I've got a 65-inch 4K OLED, an LG CX, and that game is just melts your brain. It's so pretty. And I played a lot of really good looking games this year, for sure. And that seems obvious because in the year 2021, most games look pretty damn good. But, this was just at the very top of the heap for me in terms of raw, just visual power. The PS5 does some incredible things, and Insomniac should be credited for doing amazing things with the PS5 in this game because it's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. And as I said, when we were talking about it for our top 3 games of the year, even my wife took notice more than she normally would. And she was like, Mike, this game is... what? How do they do this? And I'm like, I know, right? And so, yeah, when it comes right down to it, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was the best-looking game I played this year on the technical side of things. And even in cutscenes, there's little details and the character's fur and their eye movements, their eye flicker. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, what was your runner-up? Because I figured we'd just give our runner-up quick before we jump into
are we doing the runner-up first? Okay, we can do that. So my runner-up was Forza Horizon 5.
Okay, fair
amazing-looking game. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I figured it was easier to just do a quick mention and then jump into it since we're not going to be talking about it too much. So
fair enough. Then, Forza Horizon 5, I talked about how incredible the landscapes of Mexico are.
Yep.
Performance is amazing. But, yeah, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was my number 1.
Fair enough. And I can't say I disagree because that was also my winner. My runner-up was Resident Evil Village because, God, that game's pretty. That game is very pretty at points. But, yeah, Ratchet & Clank, basically for all the reasons Ash gave, it's they've been talking about this for the Ratchet and Clank series for basically ever since it hit the PS3, where it's like, oh my god, it's Pixar quality, but they keep getting closer and closer. I swear to
They
God,
really do. Yeah.
And it feels like an actual animated movie, and I'm pretty sure it has better graphics in this game than the Ratchet and Clank movie did. So, we'll say that, take that as you will, but. Yeah, Insomniac's Wizards, there's the fact that there's no frame hiccups whatsoever, despite the constant barrage of action, is impressive, and it just looks phenomenal. But
yeah.
I don't need to effuse its praises anymore, because Ash kind of took care of that one for me, because I had a feeling we'd probably agree on this. But we have two holdouts here who did not play Ratchet and Clank, so, or not yet anyway. We're pressuring them, but Daniel, what did you choose as what had the best graphics on testicle sense, both for your runner-up and your winner?
Man, is it even fair to say Ratchet and Clank as my runner-up for a game that I haven't actually played? Because I do realize and notice how impressive that game looks even from afar. I haven't seen any game up to this point that you're able to accomplish that sort of fidelity with. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have a different runner-up as I'm talking, but as far as like games I've actually played, I wanted to give a little love to Kena, Ridge of Spirits. That was probably, like, as far as what we've seen from Ember Lab, that's their first game that they've ever actually created, and the animators, the people who just animate this stuff, it's so impressive. From just doing fan animations to making their own game based on that same beautiful art style. The sky azure blues that you see in the game are used so well for lighting, for atmosphere, for guiding you where to go. As far as like what you can interact with, it's so wonderfully used, and in very dark settings, it's also very it's used very cunningly with the environment as well. It looks so striking to me, especially when you go from a cutscene and then it smoothly transitions into the game itself. Like that line between the actual gameplay and the cutscene, it's blurred so well, and you can't really tell like between the two at times, because it's just so it's wonderfully done. Like the scenes where you're inhabiting, like you put the mask on and you see like you go into first person mode and you see the espers and glows of the surroundings. The boss fights themselves, the particle effects that you see during those, it's all very lovingly made and striking and appealing to me. And it just helps that it's a PS2 era style kind of game that I needed to play at this time. It just invoked a lot of weirdly like nostalgic but new era feeling to me. That was a blend of like an art style and the graphic fidelity that I really enjoyed.
Nice.
I can't argue with that. So yeah,
certainly can't. Can't argue with that at all.
What about you, Brandon?
So my runner-up is Resident Evil Village.
Ooh, can't go wrong with
just
that.
Like you said, it's a good-looking game. But my winner for best graphics is actually Forza Horizon 5, because
nice.
Man, does this game look good?
Yep. It really does.
There's something interesting to me about racing games and in visuals, because like you can make cars look really good with good graphics, and they've definitely accomplished that. But even more so than that, just like the environments and the vistas and landscapes that you see in Mexico in Forza Horizon 5 are just gorgeous. But the thing that's interesting to me about that is you're always going so fast, so even the minor details are really highly detailed, but you don't see a lot of that up close because you're just zipping right past it. So I have to give the game a lot of praise for accomplishing that. Super pretty.
And those weather effects, man, when you drive into a storm how it's all so dynamic too. Like just a few sprinkles will hit your windshield first, and then it'll turn to a full-on storm, and the weather effects are just staggering in that game.
Yeah, it really is something special.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Car games can always, as you said, Brandon, seem like the easiest thing to make look pretty, but those environments, I think, are the standout, and it sounds like the weather as well. So, love to check it out at some point. But we're not done with our visuals yet, because yeah, we can talk about graphics on a technical level, which ones look the best, but which ones had the best art style? Which one stood out to us on a more visual aesthetic level that we really enjoyed? So, Ash, what was your runner-up and winner?
So my runner-up was I would have liked to have given this to the Top War, but I didn't play the whole game. I didn't play that much of it, but I did end up looking at a bunch of videos to kind of confirm what I thought was true. And Brandon, you like this. My runner-up is Monster Hunter Stories 2. Just playing what I did of the demo was enough to pull me into that pastel world with that kind of Miyazaki-esque look to it to me. But in terms of games that I played fully, my winner, and I had a hard time with this one, but it's Kena, Bridge of Spirits. And I wanted to also give it to the technical one too, but I didn't want to give it to both because I'm like, I got to choose. And I had to give it to Ratchet for pure technical visual splendor, but Kena's overall art style and vibe, the character designs, the designs of the rot, the environments, the broken down old village you're exploring and trying to restore peace to throughout the game. The whole world has a very organic, lived-in feel to it, and you can feel that this land has history and had a ton going on before Kena even arrived at the current time. And there's just everywhere you look, there's just evidence of this culture that was once there. And I find the designs of the characters, their outfits, their masks, all of that to be so interesting. The enemies were really interestingly designed. They had these like gnarled tree root looking enemies that like really are creepy and have kind of a zombie-esque look to them. I know Daniel knows everything I'm talking about here. Yeah, Kena's art style just really struck me as something particularly memorable this year, and it could also easily have won the technical category, but I wanted to spread the love, of course, and there's no way I could let our graphics categories go by without awarding Kena something, because Ember Lab, as you said, Daniel, Ember Lab worked magic here with this game, and it looks amazing technically, but I think artistically, in terms of the environment design and the character design and just the overall vibe of the game, Kena excels just as much on that end as it does on the technical end. So for me, it's Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
For myself, my runner-up this year was Persona 5 Strikers, just because
Nice.
you can't go wrong with Persona 5's art style. Yeah. It looks gorgeous. But otherwise, my winner, Ash, get out of my freaking head, Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Wow, nice.
As visuals as well.
Man.
My God. Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Here's the thing. It is that striking because I've played maybe 2-3 hours of it, and it still stands out that much. Where it just has this, but everybody compares Ratchet and Clank to Pixar because of the technical achievements and just all that. But it kind of reminds me of a really good DreamWorks movie, and the art style there, just the facial features, just has that classic animated movie look, or not classic, but more modern movie look that we've seen a lot, and be able to play that and see these environments and see the visuals that come up and the way you have certain interactions, the way her moveset expands. Like I was watching Amy play a little bit earlier, and I didn't realize that Kena eventually got bombs that you can attach to things and then blow up those bombs, and how they expand and all that. It's like the way they have her skill set move out is great. And then the rot are freaking adorable. It'll be a shock to me if they don't merchandise those things.
I want one.
Which
I know little rot plushies.
For something called the Rot, they are adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just, I don't know. I love the art style. It just clicks with me. I won't say I don't think it is the most, and not to go against you, your opinion, Daniel, but it strikes me more as the art style than technical side, because I don't think it has that rock. I don't think it's rock solid, but it's so pretty that it doesn't matter. In my opinion. So that's why I went more art style than technical, but completely valid. Like I totally get your thoughts. So I'm curious what actually won for you. What was the best visuals this year for art style sense?
Oh man, yeah. For runner up, one of the ones that really caught my eye was, I would have to say, Guilty Gear Strive. Like,
Good choice.
Arc System Works. They
Wish
can
I played it.
Look at it. They can snap their fingers and they can say this is anime now. It's just, their transition from doing sprite work to just making any fighting game that they touch, whether it's like this game, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, like they've really just nailed that art style down. So props on them for that. The actual one I wanted to pick, which I was surprised we already had talked about it a little bit now, is going to be Persona 5 Strikers because
good choice.
I'm not going to let this one go. Like, it might be cheating a little bit because it's already with the pre-made style of Persona 5 and every other like spin-off that came before it. But man, that game, the way that it just so cleanly blends a Muso game with the JRPG like Persona. It's just so impressively done, and just everything from, you know, the jails are pretty, the different areas you explore are pretty distinctive, and then you have like the actual graphics where you see the menus and I can't believe I can still talk about a game's menus and UI in a way that's more impressive than the actual gameplay itself, because the way that everything's so cleanly animated, you open up your menu, it just flies on very organically. Every single option has Joker interacting with each individual party member in some way or form that makes it seem like they're a cohesive team, you know, working together. It's a better menu than what you see in Persona 5, like the actual.
I was actually going to mention that as well, because it is, the flow from between menus is really impressive, and the other thing is it's quick. It doesn't feel like it drags, like you're like, oh, gotta watch these Joker go to these, like it's so snappy, and that's why it was my runner up, because it just carried that style to this new genre and still felt like Persona 5. So kudos.
Yeah, they made it work so well with the world. It's so impressive. My favorite one is probably when you go to the shop app with Sophie, because every single option you pick, it's her, like she'll spin around and you'll pick an option and a little cart will show up and it's like, is this what you want to buy? And then you buy it and then she shoves the cart and then she goes back into position. It flows so well. It's so charming and adorable, and that's just like for all of it. Every single option for menus is just, I can't believe I could talk about a menu this long. It's in the UI, but yeah, they really accomplished something really, really cool with this, and just. This is the game that helped define, like, not for Strikers specifically, but Persona 5 and the whole franchise helped define my art style now. So it's something I'm always very keenly aware of whenever I see a new game in this franchise. So yeah, more or less, that's, if you enjoy Persona 5, if you play that game, you kind of have an idea what it looks like in this game. But I can't help but give it praise for what it's able to make with just very solid, striking colors. Striking.
Nice. I appreciate that. Brandon, what about you?
So I swear I didn't copy Ash, but
oh no.
Oh man,
my runner-up is Monster Hunter Stories 2.
That's so funny.
I love the way the characters are stylized. There's the saturation in the colors. It's all very pretty. I'll agree, very Miyazaki-like in that way. But my number one pick for this year is Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Oh no!
Nice.
Funnily enough, so I bought this game at launch, and like Derrick, I played about 2 or 3 hours, but there was a lot of games coming out around this time of the year, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle for me. But just earlier this week, I finally went back to it on a whim, and I just beat it in one night. I just went the rest of the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's not a very long game.
Right.
If you're dividing the game into masks, there's only 3. So once you've finished the first one, you're a big chunk of the way through the game. But in terms of the visuals, I'm just gonna have to echo what the rest of you guys have said. It's just an amazing achievement in specifically animation, I want to point out, because you can tell that what Ember Lab really wants to do is make a movie.
Yeah.
Might as well.
They should call it Kojima. Work on something together.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll kill those people trying to get 50-minute cutscenes every 20 minutes.
Right.
Oh my god.
Whoa, 50-minute cutscenes every
imagine.
20 minutes. That's like overlapping cutscenes. That's like cutscenes.
Well, no, it's like you get a 50-minute cutscene, 20 minutes of gameplay, 50-minute cutscene.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's hard for me to really expand, because, like, I think you guys have really touched on it, but I do have more to say about this later, so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh,
Fair enough.
Spoiler
Fair enough.
or tease. All right.
Yeah. All right. That means we can move on to our third category, it's straight down Ash's alley. So
yeah.
I am quite curious, Ash, what was your best soundtrack this year?
Well, because it's me, I have two possibilities for my runner-up. It depends on whether remasters count or not. If remasters count, my runner-up is Legend of Mana Remaster, because that was already one of the all-time great soundtracks, and Yoko Shimomura remastered it beautifully. But if remasters don't count, then it's Kena, Bridge of Spirits, actually. When I was looking back on all the soundtracks this year, other than my winner, I kept going back to Kena as having moments that really just made me feel roused with the music, especially during fights. Just a great soundtrack all around. But
Oh, yeah.
my winner, we're going back to the Square Enix well. I may have been disappointed by this game in general, but the soundtrack did not disappoint, and that is Bravely Default 2. Revo returned. Revo was the composer for Bravely Default 1. He was not. He skipped out on Bravely 2nd, but he returned for Bravely Default 2. And man, even if the story and the characters and such didn't quite, and the gameplay didn't quite gel for me the way they did in the first two games, the soundtrack absolutely delivers. Revo has that orchestral rock sound down solid for the battle themes, with the wailing guitar riffs and the intense piano sections, and them coming together just to make you feel like you're on top of the world, man. You're fighting these super important world-saving battles. The new asterisk boss theme is one of the highlights for me, for sure. The first world map theme is so good. I didn't, full disclosure, I didn't finish the game, but I did go and just listen to the soundtrack, because why? Of course I did.
Fair enough.
Of course I did. Because I just knew that no matter how the game turned out, the soundtrack was going to blow me away, and I wasn't wrong. I'm so glad that the music didn't similarly disappoint me the way the rest of the game is, or the way the rest of the game did, because I don't think I could have handled a disappointing Revo soundtrack. And straight up, and some of the cool things from the prior games also returned for this series, for this game, like each character having their own individual theme that can play during special conditions during battle. The super mega ridiculously epic final boss theme. This is just a damn good Square Enix JRPG soundtrack done in the Revo style, and if that's up your alley, Bravely Default 2 soundtrack is your port of call. It just is. It can't disappoint. It is so good. The one of the very best representations of the kind of soundtrack it is. So, yep, for me, it's Bravely Default 2.
Found some way to get it on these categories despite not enjoying the game. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But it's time for us to diverge. Ash, I did not follow up on with your soundtrack.
I figured I might be the only one with that on there. Yeah.
I can't ride your coattails anymore. For best soundtrack, my runner-up, and it may be recency biased, but it is really good, even though it's a lot of remixes, but there's some good original stuff in there too. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon.
Oh,
it's Jake
nice.
Kaufman. You can't go wrong. And some of those remixes at certain points, they hit just right and make that puzzle game all the better. So great stuff there. But for my actual winner, and hey, I'm choosing a remaster as well, because you can't go wrong with this soundtrack. Nier Replicant version 1.224744871139 repeating. No, it's Nier. Nier has fantastic soundtracks. The original was great. The remixes in this are great. It captures each feeling and makes the traversal between areas fit and just kill. And certain cutscenes would are emphasized so much more with these soundtracks, or pump you up, or just hits every right mood you need. And the duality of some of these scenes, especially when you do your second playthrough, go for ending B and see other things. It's amazing how well that same song hits, but in a different way. Like
I love that.
It just feels that way as well, because it's like, oh yeah, I feel it for this thing, but it's like, that's an interesting little note that they have there, and then you get this extra bit. It's like, oh, there's what it comes in. That's why it's there, and it's just, it's so satisfying, and just easy to listen to, and it's another reason like I got to get the Automata at some point because I know it's just as good. And
Oh man,
having remixes and new tracks in this, the few new tracks in this one. Good stuff, just good stuff.
I have very little doubt that Nier Replicant would be on my list for this category if I'd had a chance to play it this year. I just didn't. And it's the kind of game where I'd rather wait till I play it to listen to the soundtrack in context.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I know it would have been on my list if I'd played it, but I just didn't get to it. But Nier, man, it's so good. So good.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Daniel?
I'm glad somebody brought up Nier Replicant because that's my runner-up.
Nice.
We're kind of on the same wavelength as well, Daniel.
Pretty much, yeah. Nier Replicant, square root of 1.5 because the other way is too hard to say. Wonderful soundtrack by Keiichi Okabe, as well as the same composer for Automata and other Yoko Taro products. Very striking soundtrack. Love that so much. But you've already pretty much mentioned what I would have said about it. So my actual top one is probably not very surprising. It's Neo, The World Ends With You, and it might not be
fair.
It's interesting to pick because like it has a bunch of different artists contributing to one soundtrack and like a lot of sampling from other like older kind of style music because it's kind of that it fits the vibe of that. It's like you got a DJ at a party and they're remixing sort of things and they have that kind of flow throughout the entire game. But yeah, so many different genres of music in this game, from just like your own hip hop, rock, R&B remix, those kind of things, and then you get music that's like a lot, really high energy, pumping music. There's a song, it's called Breaking Free, and I swear when I listened to it, it took me back to like going back to middle school, high school, because I swear whoever sings this, it sounds like I'm listening to Green Day or something back then. It has that exact tone of voice throughout the song, and I'm just like, what is going on here? But yeah, just it's very similar to how in the first game, the vibe where Neko has on headphones and there's just music playing throughout the entire game, and it's like you're listening to his playlist during the entirety of that game. It has that same vibe here, probably a little less so because no one wearing headphones. But you have Rindo who's always holding his phone, so maybe like he never lets go of that damn phone. So maybe he has his thing playing. Yeah, that's his thing actually. I never brought that up. While Neko always had his headphones, Rindo never lets go of his phone like ever.
I feel that.
So yeah, definitely. So yeah, just the overall music, it helps to sell the whole culture of like fashion, of being up to date with the latest street trends in Shibuya. Just like in the first game, it just lends itself very well, and yeah, one of my favorite soundtracks this year. I still got those songs in my head, man. They're earworms.
It doesn't surprise me. I felt that for the original World Ends With You. I immediately got the vibes of a great soundtrack as soon as I saw the opening cutscene, like the opening theme. Yeah, you know what they do. They go from song to song to song to song and showing off the visuals. Like, it slaps so hard, and I wanted it. It'd probably be on my list if I actually had a chance to play it and hear more of it. But what I did here was fantastic.
Yeah, it's like Persona. You just feel cool playing the game.
Yep.
Yep.
What about you, Brandon? What's your best soundtrack and runner-up?
So my runner-up is one that I don't think a lot of people think about so much these days. That's Bowser's Fury.
Oh, yeah.
Good one.
Good one. That Fury Bowser theme is so hardcore and intense. It makes that experience, especially the first time it happens, when you play, it makes that experience just feel like simultaneously world-ending and super badass. And that's not something you get from Mario very often,
not really.
if ever. So having that in Bowser's Fury was a really fun change of pace for Mario, and really sets Bowser's Fury apart from the rest of Super Mario 3D World. So that's why that's my runner-up. However, my best soundtrack of the year, and this may or may not be a surprise to you guys, it's Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter has always had just incredible music, and I know probably a lot of you guys don't know that because you haven't played these games very much.
Right.
But Monster Hunter Rise in particular, that game is very like Japanese kind of folklore feeling, and that's represented in the music as well. Just a lot of East Asian instruments that really support the soundtrack. But in general, like, Monster Hunter music has a way of making you feel super empowered. Like, just the power fantasy of going up against these incredible monsters. And one trend that they have done, I think since the first game, is, you know, you'll fight the final boss, and the final boss will have its music. It'll have its theme. But once you've achieved something particular, or you've achieved a certain amount of damage on the monster, the soundtrack will start changing. And it'll change to Proof of a Hero, which is the Monster Hunter main theme. And let me tell you, there is no feeling quite like hearing that song in the middle of the final boss fight of any Monster Hunter game.
You know,
I love when stuff like that happens.
as anime fans, there's nothing quite like being suckered into getting into a big moment and all of a sudden the main theme starts playing from the arc or the entire series or whatever.
Leitmotif is so important.
It's like, oh shit, things are going down.
Yeah.
In the Monster Hunter theme, the main theme itself, Proof of a Hero, is meant to make you feel empowered. So like it really doubles down on the fact that, hey, you're really close. This is gonna happen. Keep hunting.
Oh,
that's good stuff.
Good use of leitmotif is one of my favorite elements of any soundtrack. That can elevate an already great soundtrack to just stratospheric levels, right?
Yeah. You specifically, I would encourage you to check out some of the soundtrack, because I think you'd like a lot of it.
Sounds like I would. All right, well, I will make a note to do that, because so much of what I listen to when I'm just doing chores or working is just, I'll go to YouTube and put on video game soundtracks, or just chiptune radio or something. So I'll definitely put that on my list.
Nice. Monster Hunter also, and this is true in Rise as well, just every little thing you do is accompanied by music. So one of the things you can do before you go on a hunt is eat. And eating will give you specific boosts based on what kind of food you decide to have. And in Monster Hunter Rise specifically, it's all Dango themed. You're eating Dango before you leave. And there's the little Dango girl, and she sings you a little song. It's like a 15-20 second song that she sings to you every time she makes you Dango, and it's the cutest thing in the world.
That sounds fantastic. Okay, this is something I'll need to put on my listen list on YouTube. Good to know.
Yeah, easily my favorite soundtrack of the year.
Awesome.
Sweet. I mean, I can't say I can't think of any Monster Hunter songs, but maybe I need to look them up. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next category. And Ash, you might know soundtracks, but how do you feel about sound designs? What is your runner-up and winner of best sound design this year?
So this is like soundscapes, atmosphere, creature sounds, all that sound effects, all that good stuff. And for me, my runner-up, and it's mainly my runner-up because I didn't finish it, but it may be my winner if I did, is Returnal. Just from the several hours of Returnal that I played, I was absolutely struck by how much I was pulled into that game's world, and just the weather, like the sound effects when it's like raining all around you, and the otherworldly creature shrieks, and just like you're immediately kind of captured by that sense of isolation that you know your character is put into in that game. And just the creatures have really cool designs, but they're equally creepy when you hear them. And so Returnal. But my winner for this, in much the same way, because of that atmospheric, that total just atmospheric, it pulls you right into the world, is Metroid Dread. That oomph, atmospheric oomph. Metroid Dread. I make sure to play this whole game with headphones. I play most games with headphones when I can, but this one, I wanted to, experience the dread right alongside Samus. I played in a dark room, nobody around, headphones on, and man, of course Metroid nails the atmosphere, but when you really play with a good set of headphones, you hear details that you might lose out with on like a soundbar or your TV audio, and the creature sound effects, just like the way each different area sounds, especially I think it's Barinia, the underwater area, just that you really feel the depth and the alien feeling of some of the creatures that you fight in that area. And Yeah, Metroid Dread just really, Planet ZDR really comes alive. And of course, I have to talk about the Emmy, the creepy Emmy beeping and the beep, boop, beep, boop. They're so creepy, and it's unnerving to see. To before an Emmy spots you, just knowing that one is nearby and you hear that telltale beeping, it's like it makes your skin crawl immediately. And that's to say nothing of the great sound effects accompanied by Samus's own weaponry. It's so satisfying just to run around and shoot her arm cannon, especially once you upgrade it a few times and get like various other beams, because you're just blasting everything everywhere, and you feel the power behind each shot because of that great sound that accompanies all of her weaponry. So for me, sound design, it's got to come down to Metroid Dread, though Returnal might have taken it had I finished it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, in the previous year, Resident Evil 2 easily was my best sound design.
So good.
Resident Evil Village gets close. It follows that same idea. It's my runner-up. And there's, again, it really captures some moments, especially the Benevito, or however you do it, the second area of that, and that whole sequence, especially the notable monster everybody talks about. Boy, it is really good at creeping out at some points, but I don't think it hit quite as strongly, especially as the game went on. And so my winner... gotta agree with Ash again. Metroid Dread.
Nice.
He covered a lot of points, but the one thing I'll say to sort of add on to that, because he's right, it all feels good, it all sounds good, it really immerses you in there. But
wait, I'm sorry. Can I clip that? Just you saying he's right. Can I clip that and just bring that out whenever I need it?
I'd prefer not, but I think it's going to happen anyway.
Nice.
Not a context fodder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The big thing there is they stand out, they immerse you in that world, but we've given the game a bit of flack for the fact that it doesn't have a memorable soundtrack. This has memorable sound design. I can think of every single sound effect, every single noise, and hear it in my head, and how it like just emphasizes those moments. And I think that's what brings it out so much, because there's a few games out there where the sound effects of certain things, you can bring them out, but for having something so recent and being just immediately in your head and just immerse you in that way, that stands out. This is really good sound design. So yeah, easily my winner. I don't really have much more to add beyond what Ash said, because I just fully agree. But yeah, that'd be my winner. What about you, Daniel?
Well, pack it up, Samus. You've won Footsteps of the Year apparently, because
nice.
I have that. I've been flip flopping over between whether it's this is the runner up or the one I originally was thinking about, which was a game you'll probably see in a few categories in a row now, which is Tales of Arise. It actually has really good sound design, like every single footstep, every single motion and attack, all the sound effects during battle and attacks. Although they kind of clip over each other, you can kind of tell what's happening and what's where, just from the visual aspect of it. But essentially, like Alphen, your main character, no matter what he's wearing, whether it's just like his normal clothing or you're walking around in like the suit of armor, when he has the armor, you hear every little clink, every little chunk, every little sound effect when he's moving around and exploring the world. And it's all very contextual to where you are and what your character is wearing while you're out in the field. Everything's just so wonderfully, just the sound design is really nice in that game. I remember fishing a lot as well. I don't know why, but you spend a long time fishing, and just the having headphones on and hearing that and the wind's blowing in the background, and you're very just immersed in the fishing. It's just something that caught my eye. And you only fish with one character. Her name's Kisara, and she has her armor on as well. So when you're tugging and pulling, you hear the armor sliding and moving around, I think, as well. So just very, very close attention to details with everything that makes it very immersive. And Metroid Dread also gets very close to that. Both have already expounded upon the sound design in that. A quick shout out to when you collect an item, just that whole set of like the clicking and sound effects that come together. It's very memorable for all things. It's just great games with great sound design.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
What about you, Brandon?
So my runner-up is also Metroid Dread, and I want to quickly point out the Emmy beep boops, because as soon as
Yeah.
Ash did that, it just, like, seriously, it just, like, flashed the
Got
Emmy
scared.
zone to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how
It'll go
powerful that sound is for me.
Yeah.
It's the new like beeping when you hear the Guardian in Breath of the Wild. It's the new that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
panic
Oh,
sound.
true.
That is a good
Uh-huh.
point.
That's
Not even
true.
that
I didn't think
different.
about that. Yeah.
But I really struggled with this one, because initially I was like, it's either going to be Metroid Dread, Resident Evil Village, or, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but Monster Hunter Rise.
Fair enough.
It's almost like it was your
And
game
I'll-
of the year. Weird.
I'll give you one guess which one I picked. Monster Hunter Rise is my best sound design of the year, and there are a lot of reasons for that. One, there's the legacy sounds that come from Monster Hunter, just the clicks and beeps and boops that you get from the actual menu navigation. That has stayed pretty consistent throughout the series. So there is an emotional response to me hearing those sounds that I latch onto. But I really want to commend the team specifically for the way the monsters sound, because every monster in the game has a unique roar, has unique vocalizations, and they have to design all of that. And I can identify one monster's roar from another. That's how unique and well thought out they are. So, like, if there's a Rathalos roar out in the distance and I don't see it, I know it's a Rathalos because I've heard it roar before.
Yeah.
It's really impressive, and kind of similar to Tales of Arise. Even the armor sets you wear, they clink, they clang, but it's dependent on what kind of armor set you're wearing, and even weapons of the same class with different designs will have different sounds depending on what kind of shape and material they're made out of. Like, they go really far with this.
That's cool.
It's just super impressive.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's I get apparently more things I need to listen to when it comes to Monster Hunter.
I'm saying.
Hey, there you go. All right. Well, time for our next category, and this one is another one close to Ash and I's heart. Best story / narrative. Ash, what was your best story this year?
All right, so, and I, for at least for my own purposes, I kind of wrap characters into story and narrative as well, because a good story needs good characters, right? But for me, for this category, my runner-up is The Great Ace Attorney 1 Adventures. I can't say Chronicles because I haven't played the second game yet, but as Derrick knows, I'm a hair's width away from finishing the first game, and I've been DMing him over and over again, like, dude, oh my god, where's this going? This is so good. And I just got to a specific plot revelation late in the game that I'm like, oh, this is just getting deeper and deeper and more interesting. And yeah, I mean, there's just such an interesting political conspiracy that kind of sets the events of the Great Ace Attorney into motion. And the characters are all obviously all just wonderful, and you care about them, and they really make you wonder where everyone's true motivations lie. But as I kind of mentioned in our top 3 games of the year discussion, I also find it very interesting how they set all this against the realistic backdrop of anti-Japanese racism at the time. It's all really good, but that's still just my runner-up. My story narrative of the year, I don't always agree with the Game Awards, but you better believe I do this time. Who's surprised? It's Guardians of the Flarkin Galaxy. This game's story absolutely surprised me from the get-go. It pulls you in right away with these incredibly interesting takes on the Guardians themselves, who they have supplanted the MCU versions as my favorite versions of these characters. They all are so interesting and care and bring their own unique personality to the team, and the character banter is second to none. The writing in this game is so phenomenal. Each Guardian is written so authentically. The banter they have during fights, and even when they're just lounging around on their ship, the Milano, it's just so... It has a lived-in, homey feel where you just feel like, yeah, these are people with real histories and real demons. But also you can see how they grow as a team throughout the game. You know, at the beginning, they're not a well-oiled team at all. They fight, they clash, they have a hard time getting shit done. But by the end of the game, they've come together as a true unit, as a family, and you feel the camaraderie between the Guardians, and that's because of the fantastic writing. And then the overall story they're a part of is just, it's really interesting, and you don't really know where it's going throughout. And I have to give special mention to the way they characterize Peter Quill, Star-Lord, because I'm not familiar with the comics as much, so maybe this isn't as surprising if you've read all the comics, but the way they characterize Peter, and specifically some of his relationships to other characters in the game, surprised me, and explored themes that I don't feel like are necessarily explored all that often in games, particularly those of grief and letting go of loved ones, and letting go of hurt and pain. And it's at once incredibly funny and heartwarming, like you'd expect from a Guardians of the Galaxy anything, but also surprisingly dark and introspective, and more than I expected from a Guardians game. So I gotta give it to Guardians. It's just a really fantastic story all around, and I really hope everyone plays it, and don't let what happened with Avengers deter you. Everyone should play this game. If you like action adventure games, or just action 3D action games, you gotta play this game. It's great, and the story is just wonderful, and the characters are just second to none. Yeah, it's Guardians for me, easily.
I saw a little conversation between Peter and Rocket online, and I was like, I got a little taste, like, oh, that'll do.
Yeah,
it's impressively done. I want to check it out eventually, but you know, backlogs and all that, so we'll see how it all goes.
You know, one thing I do want to mention before we move on is that what's really cool is that you're brought into this story against the backdrop of a giant intergalactic war that's already happened. And some of the story is about piecing together how that war affected the galaxy and the Guardians and the characters around them, because they all carry demons and scars from that war, which you don't get to actually play or see, but the way it's characterized and fleshed out throughout the course of the story is really interesting. So I just wanted to throw that little bit in there.
Nice. Well, for me, my runner-up was also The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Nice.
It's just a fun mystery. It's Ace Attorney done right, with some fun new characters and some legit mysteries and a lot of results that I did not see coming. There's some real, genuine surprises in this game. I'm just going to leave it at that, because a lot of the fun is the mystery and figuring things out. And I'm so glad that certain things where it's like, there's certain things that you'll see in the second game where it's like, oh, that's super obvious. And they're like, oh, hey, it's super obvious, and here you go. You know, they don't drag it out like, I was like, oh, it's a mystery. It's, right. Yeah. It was like, if it's really obvious, they'll come out and say it for the most part. So I appreciated that. But fun, great story, great duology. But my winner this year, God, it feels kind of like a cheat, but I think there's enough new content here that continues on. Near Replicant once again, because the base game had a great plot, but it's also, this feels new going into it, because if you've played the original, which I did, you have old man Nier. This is my first time experiencing the story from the perspective of young man Nier, and having it be a brother situation, and that did make it feel new. And the other part is that they re-recorded all the dialogue. Every line of dialogue has been redone, wow, redubbed, with all the original voice actors back, other than for Nier himself. And it works. It is really, really well done. And then there's new scenarios that were planned to be in the original that are in there now, and a brand new ending. There was a lot of new content here, and it all comes together in a fantastic way, with the new ending tying a bit more directly into Automata. So I think there's enough story here beyond just what the original provided to make it good. And the original was already really good. So this is basically just taking an A+ story and putting it in an S tier because of all the extra stuff they added. And it's a good time. It's a fun, engaging story. And it's that story and it's the story and music of the original that made that game worth playing. Because the gameplay is kind of basic. It's better, but still kind of basic in this remake. But those elements are alone make Near Replicant worth playing, and highly recommend hunting it down, because it's just a good story. And I don't want to spoil anything. All I will say is if you play it, and if you're familiar with, if you're not familiar with Nier games by or basically Yoko Taro games, when you get to the ending, it's not the ending. Keep playing. There's several endings, and they're all worth seeing. So keep that in mind and get that full story so you can actually, enjoy everything. So, yeah,
right.
Good stuff. But Daniel, what about you? Good.
Nier Replicant nearly hit my list. It was very close to hitting my list because as someone who's also played Automata, like being able to connect the two stories together and kind of see like where everything went. It's just a very powerful game, and I think having it as brothers hit me a little bit more because I'm a brother, not a with a bunch of sisters and not a father. So the whole thing with Yona, it's just like I will protect you, that sort of thing. So
yeah,
just some more relatable stuff there. But like as far as in the interest of putting more games on here for more of a variety, since we seem to have a lot of different, a lot of similar games on our list. Was a game I didn't expect to have on here at first. It was originally written by Yoshio Sakamoto before he did Metroid, and it's Famicom Detective Club.
Nice.
I really enjoyed. I had always been interested in this game from a far away point because it was always something that was just in Japan. It was never translated, but then they went through such an effort to make this game accessible to everybody and with a fresh coat of paint. And I really appreciate how it's like just a pretty grounded a story. Like you get game as far at least until it gets like in the more supernatural effects of like the girl who stands behind. But like for the missing heir, just solving a murder mystery, and it's not too I guess when you think of games like visual novels like these, The Great Ace Attorney, like Danganronpa, like the characters are very expressive, very outward. It's over the top, but this one is very much like a nice, chill, more believable setting. They set in Japan, so I kind of appreciate it for being that kind of toned down experience. But that was just my runner-up, and I went too long about the runner-up. I think partially because I've already talked about my actual like best story narrative would probably be Tales of Arise for the just. The characters are all very well written. The cast is quite lovable. They all kind of interact very well with each other. Just the main characters' trip through their arc was very interesting to see. There isn't so much more I can say about that because I actually want to talk about some of the characters later. So
yeah, I will ask just to maybe help you elaborate a bit more.
Yeah.
How is this story how would you rank it compared to the other Tales games that you've played? Is it up there or?
Yeah, you know what? I would rank this fairly high up there. It's hard to say that it's high up because I played pretty much every English translated Tales game that's ever come out over here in the West. So maybe it'd be like 4th or 5th as far as those games, because I've played like maybe there's like almost 10 different Mothership Tales games that have been translated out here. So I really enjoy it for that fact. Maybe like 3 or 4. I don't know. It's hard to top games like Tales of the Abyss. And Tales of Exilia 2 has a really kind of dark undertone that kind of got me more interested in that game too. But yeah, I think it's really high up there, honestly. Like it's the best story I've seen written in quite a while, because other games kind of go all over the place, but this one stays very grounded in what it tries to tell. And
awesome.
Just the fact that it kind of trails on and kind of drags out and explains a whole bunch towards the end kind of ruins the experience for me. I think it'd be higher if they kind of scattered those kind of story beats throughout the story instead of packing it all at the end. But yeah, that game I really enjoy for what it does. It really kind of captured the kind of essence of this one region is one arc and episode of this anime, and then the next region is another one. Like they all have their very specific laid out like stories within each one. And yeah, one of the bigger ones for me was like, you'll probably get to this eventually, Derrick, but there's I think in the third area, there's you see a lake, and it's very silver, it's very metallic looking, and then when you learn the context as to why that lake looks like that, your perspective on things change, and you see like two of the characters, you see two of these characters that eventually become part of your party, Kisaru and Dohalim. You see their arc change and shift there, and I love to see like how characters can grow and develop just within the moment of those kind of moments. And yeah, it's just, there's some powerful stuff in there. I think for anyone that's gonna still plans on playing this, you'll find a lot of stuff to enjoy about it, as anime as it is.
That's fine. What about you, Brandon?
So my runner-up is Resident Evil Village, and I think I would only put that there because I played Resident Evil 7. Like, because as you know, these games are a pair. You need to play them together in order to really appreciate everything that's going on. But my number one for best story, and I still am like debating this, like personally, but it's Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Nice.
So like I said, I did just finish this earlier this week, and kind of like Ash's game. You know, this game deals a lot with grief, letting go.
It does.
Yeah.
Vengeance, anger, and how various people in this village have dealt with those emotions, and you know, in some ways how it overtakes them, and Kena kind of has to show them why they're wrong and kind of dissect those feelings, and I really appreciate it from that standpoint. And it's kind of hard to talk about this without going into spoilers, but I'll try and dance around it. The game introduces a lot of elements, such as Kena's backstory, her father, and just the grander world as it is, without giving you resolutions for a lot of those things. Mm-hmm. And it's not because they're attempting sequel bait here. The Ember Labs has basically come out and said that they're not going to make a sequel to Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Oh, wow.
This is it.
Yeah.
If they do, it's going to continue as a television series or a film. Yeah, I think the reason I put this here is because I got so invested in what those things could be. So the game did a good enough job of pulling me into its world and wanting me to experience more. So it's not necessarily a complete narrative, but the possibility of more narrative is why I put it here, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You nailed it. It's so true, everything you said about Kena's story, having also played it. And it really does deal with a lot of tragedy that you wouldn't necessarily expect going into the game. Yeah. There's some really tragic elements to this story. And I also want to just give it a quick shout out for, like, not making a big deal of it, screaming it from the rooftops, but the game does show a variety of different relationships, including at least one same-sex relationship, actually an interracial same-sex relationship, and it's not mentioned as that. It's just these are these characters, and that's how they happen to be. You know, that's their relationship, and it's just, and that's awesome. It's just like, I thought that was really cool, and you know, always points for diversity and inclusion. And I wanted to really, you know, shout out Kanan for that as well.
They didn't shout it out, but Ash will.
Yeah, hell yeah, I will. I think it's important to recognize that.
Yeah, this is a game that deals with coping with loss, and I think it was handled fairly well with everything that they show Kena helping these characters through. Yeah, it's a wonderful story narrative as well. I think so too.
Nice.
And just the potential of a greater world and understanding more of who Kena is personally, because you know, that's one of the elements we don't really get. I'm excited to see where that goes, because I think there's a beautiful world to be explored. We just haven't yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next category, which should be pretty fun. Best new character. Ash, what is the best new character this year for you?
So my runner-up, I don't know am I allowed to say Metroid Dread's main antagonist? Is that too much? Can I say their name?
I think you can say the name. It's fine.
Okay, it rhymes with Haven Leak. How about that? I really no. Ravenbeak is my runner-up, and it's not that Ravenbeak has a you know, we don't find out that much about them, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Don't worry, but it's just their design and their presence, the sense of how imposing they are, the presence and. stuff happens in that game with Ravenbeak. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think you all know what I'm talking about, some of the moments I'm thinking, but just the absolutely enormous presence Ravenbeak has in that game. So good. But my favorite new character of this year, and I think you already know where I'm going with this, Derrick, is Rivet from Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. What an absolutely perfect addition to that universe. She feels like she slots in right alongside the existing characters perfectly, even though she's from a different dimension. And Jennifer Hale just, brings her to life in such a way that's just... She's funny and she's quirky, but she also gets shit done. But she's not so dark and dour that she's, unlikable. She definitely has kind of an all business mentality to her at first. But then you start to see her playful side, and you also see how she's been wounded and some of the scars she carries and why she is the way she is. But she's a nuanced character who, and it isn't just about Jennifer Hale's performance. Her actual design is so cool. I just love... I just love the kind of different take on a Lombax design that Rivet is, and like her earrings and her scarf, and she's not sexualized. She's she's not over sexualized. She's a cool looking female character that was introduced into this universe and just, like as I said, feels like she slots in naturally right next to all these characters you've known and loved for years from previous Ratchet and Clank games. And I literally cannot imagine Ratchet and Clank games going forward without her and Kit in it, but especially Rivet herself. She's just so freaking cool, man, and she's just likable. Just an all-around great protagonist that really complements Ratchet very well, I think.
Nice. Well, I'll expand on that after I give my runner-up, which is Heisenberg from Resident Evil Village.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Cool. All right.
I'm sorry, people point out Lady Dimitrescu, and she's great and all, but Heisenberg from the beginning, just something about his presence just pulled me in every time he showed up, and I loved going through the factory and just having those interactions with him. Those are some of my favorite parts, just because he's so different from every other character in that game, and I love him to death. I really do. But yeah, Rivet's better. Rivet is a great new character. Slots, as Ash says, slots right in. You could have started brand new with Rivet and have just as compelling a game, even if you didn't have the Ratchet backstory. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they go out of their way to have Rivet interact with different people and have these big moments where she does certain things. I'm just going to leave it at that. You feel her plight. You feel what she's working towards. You feel all those emotions, and to accomplish that in one game. Because I'll remind you, the introduction of Ratchet was a jackass in the first game that he was in. He was cocky. He was out for glory. Otherwise, the whole game was just about him learning a lesson about being a bit more humble, to the point they had to change the voice actor because it just didn't work. And then Ratchet slowly became the character we all know and love now. And to nail Rivet right out of the bat is a real good showing. And she is just a great character that I really hope to see more of as time goes on. But yeah, I mean, Ash is making this easy on me. He's covering most of it, so I can just what he said.
Yeah.
But Daniel, what about you?
Oh man. All right. So best character. I kind of flip-flop with this as well, but I think I've spoken enough about Tales of Arise, so I think runner-up would be the main character, Alphen, from Tales of Arise. He has quite the arc. When you look at his character model, when you look at the art of Alphen, I asked some people, what do you think of this character, and what do you think his personality is like? And some of them were like, oh, he's like an edgelord, he's just one of these guys. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's like the sweetest boy, I tell you. Despite all
I would
things.
not have predicted that.
Yeah. Honestly, like one of the first scenes you see is him protecting a boy getting whipped or hit in a certain way, and he takes the brunt of that hit for him, and yeah, really great character.
Look at this, eye patch, flaming sword. That white hair. That is an edgelord character. So
seriously, I would not have guessed that at all about him.
Go away from the trope.
That really threw me off, and just seeing him evolve through the story was he's a really good guy. He's really a kind, gentle soul as far as everything that you see, and the sacrifices he makes as well. Just anyone who still hasn't played that game, you're in for a good
oh boy,
time.
is he a Vash the Stampede? If you've watched Trigun.
I have watched Trigun. It's been a long while. I don't think he's absolutely not a goofball like that.
He's not that sacrificing.
No, I don't think he's that sacrificing, but maybe a little bit here and there. You have to play and find out.
Okay.
I see. But I think one of the this is gonna be a pretty interesting answer for some people. I think my favorite character this year was the antagonist from Deltarune Chapter 2. That would be Queen from that game. I know maybe.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough because you have to avoid spoilers. But I trust you. You'll be fine.
I won't spoil too much about Queen because she's such an outrageous character. Toby Fox writes stories and characters in such a fun, outrageous way to the point where they're very trollish at times. And God, it's hard to describe the way Queen speaks because it sounds like a shitpost a lot of the time when you see the way they talk. And one of my favorite lines is when she walks up to your main character Chris, who's probably the most stoic character that you can get from a game like as the protagonist from Undertale and Deltarune. And she kind of just leans back on his head and he's just like, you get me, Chris. You do not do crazy things like have opinions. just really over the top stuff like that. I mean, she introduces herself. She's reclining on a chair that's run by a jetpack, so it's always hovering above, and she has her little wine glass drinking with her legs crossed. And yeah, she's just such a hilarious character. She brings a lot to the story, and there's some layers to her too. Like she kind of wants to help another character that you see throughout the story. So despite all things, like every character in these games by Toby Fox, they have a lot of layers to them. But just a fun antagonist, very, very strange at times, but that's what makes them fun. Yeah, and she has this obsession with potassium and bananas. I don't really get it, but you do you, Queen, literally.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, those are essentially my favorites. And if you haven't played Deltarune, that's
it's free.
Quite a different. Yeah, it's free, and it's quite a different take on an antagonist from Chapter 1. That's for sure.
Cool.
Very cool.
What about you, Brandon?
So I struggled with this one a little bit. My runner-up was almost my number one, and that's also Heisenberg.
He's so good.
Nice.
He just, like you said, Derek, he just steals the show anytime he's on screen. Like, forget Lady Dimitrescu. Heisenberg is the highlight of Resident Evil Village for me. He's got such a presence, such an attitude about him. And then there's that big old hammer he carries. It's so imposing.
He also has the best line in the entire game.
Yes, he does. That said, my best new character isn't technically a new character at all, but I did select Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII Intermission.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I accept that.
Oh man,
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
If you ask me, Yuffie previously wasn't really that much of a character. She didn't have a lot of stake in Final Fantasy VII originally. There is that little side quest you can have with her when she joins your party in Final Fantasy VII. But having Yuffie be center stage for this entire experience and just getting to really realize her as a character, this kind of bubbly, clumsy ninja who, wants the best for the world, loves materia, but, she's clearly not super practiced yet. I just love that about her, and it makes me more excited for her to eventually join the rest of the party in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 when that eventually comes. So yeah, Yuffie is my choice.
There's a moment, just to have a little side here, because I have not played the full thing yet, but I love the early moment in there where she catches a glimpse of Barrett and the rest. And she's asking her section of Avalanche, like, who are they? It's like, the off branch that are, they go to extremes and don't worry about that. And she's like, I want to join them. That's how I want to. That's how I want to go about this.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's so good.
So I was like, all right, that's
Yeah, I
cute.
hadn't even considered her for this category, but I accept that too. I mean, that's, yeah, even if she's not technically a new character, it's a new take on her. It's a new, and
Yeah.
a much more well-developed take on her. And yeah, great choice.
Yep.
I totally considered her, but she's not a new character, so I didn't know how hard we were gonna be about the rules for this.
You
so-
can argue your point.
Oh well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, time for the next category, and this is an interesting one proposed by Brandon, and I like the idea of this one. Ash, what was the best game you played in 2021 that was released in a previous year?
So this was both really tough and really easy for me because I didn't play that many games this year from previous years, to be quite honest. Most of the games I played this year were from this year, or they were games I'd already played a billion times from previous years, like Mega Man X, right? So it was hard because I didn't have that many to choose from, but also easy. So runner-up is actually a game that I just started playing recently, and that tells you how few games I've played from previous years this year. Psychonauts 1, the original game. I'm only a little bit of several hours into it, but as I've been saying, I really wanted to play Psychonauts 1 before 2. And so I'm playing 1 properly, never played it back in the day. And as I've said before, I 100% get why this game took off the way it did. It is so absolutely full of charm. It feels great as a 3D platformer. The physics feel great. I love the animations, like the double jump feels good. I totally get why people love Psychonauts the way they do. But the easy answer for me for this category is Yakuza Like a Dragon. I held off on playing this game until the PS5 version came out in March, or March 2nd, I think it was, and I don't have a lot of experience with other Yakuza games. This is my entry into the series, so I know that I'm missing some extra references and stuff that I would see if I'd played 0 through 6. But the fact that I love this game so much despite that says everything. I absolutely get, after playing Yakuza 7, why people love this series so much. If Ichiban Kasuga had counted as a new character this year, that's who I would have, voted for, because he was definitely my favorite new character of last year, technically. I love that man. I want to go have some beers with him and just hear him geek out about Dragon Quest. But what a great cast of characters. The turn-based battle system is a lot of fun. Exploring Yokohama is Yokohama has such a great lived-in feel to it. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Yeah, it's a game that I haven't technically finished, but I'm about 75% of the way through, and it's just one of those things where I'm just waiting for a good chunk of time to go back and finish it. It's not lack of interest, it's just lack of time, but I played the vast majority of it, and Yakuza Like a Dragon easily is my favorite game that I played this year that didn't come out this year, and everyone who likes turn-based JRPGs should absolutely give it a shot. The Yakuza series has a personality like no other. Steve would tell you that as well if he was here, and I think he would completely see where I'm coming from with this game. It really is that good, and it's got one of the best casts of characters ever, of all time. One of the things I've actually talked to you about, Daniel, is that I love that Yakuza Like a Dragon subverts expectations because of games like the Tales of series, where any JRPG really, where characters who are above like the age of 30 are considered old. They're geriatric practically. Raven from Tales of Vesperia, he's like 37, and they treat him like I think 37 or 35 or something, and they treat him like he's just this old man who's just washed up. His life is over.
That blew my mind when like Sid from 7 was treated like that. Like
same thing.
I thought he was like in his 50s, and it turns out he's in his 30s. Like, what the hell?
Exactly. Whereas,
So
but in
funny
Yakuza 7, you have like this whole cast of characters that are like 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're down on their luck, and they're still trying to build their lives up that late into their lives. And I feel like that's a realistic interpretation of aging, and sometimes how not life doesn't always follow a linear path. And I love that cast of characters so much, and I just love Yakuza 7. So that's my easy pick for this category.
Nice. Cool. All right. For me, fortunately, I had a nice little, with me streaming, I tend to stream older games that people want me to play or that I've been interested in. So I had a nice little way to go back. It's like, what did I play this year? And I was looking through, and there's some really tough choices. I actually came down between 3 H games as my best of 2021. And it came down between Hollow Knight, Hades, and Horizon Zero Dawn. I had to give it to Horizon Zero Dawn because I reached a point with the plot twists because I love both of those. All three are good. But, man, Horizon has so much to do. An interesting world, but that story, those plot twists,
So
and I'm not
good.
even through it all.
Oh my God, yeah.
But it's great. But, it's not the best game I played in 2021. I think if anybody's talked to me, heard me talk on TNT for any length of time, they probably can guess. Because I did start it this year, which I did forget. Final Fantasy 14.
Oh,
God damn.
of course, yeah.
Oh,
It
yep.
is. I started it back in, I think, April. And it is amazing how addictive that game is. I'm not into MMOs at all, but there's between the community, the storyline, the gameplay, it just clicks in a way. Especially when you get to the post game of the main of the base. It's like when you get past A Realm Reborn and start getting into the expansions. That's when it feels like, oh, okay, we got. I don't want to label it a tutorial, but basically like, okay, here's your introduction to this world. Now we're going to start doing things with it. Like, here's your basis, here's your players, let's start going nuts. And that's the part I'm in right now, and I just want to see more. I want to keep playing. If I didn't have to talk to you guys and do other work, that's what I'd be doing right now. So it's one of those things where you just like, every time you play, it just makes you happy, and that's what it's been doing for me. So yeah, Final Fantasy 14, still going to have a long way to go to catch up to Endwalker, but man, what a great ride.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Daniel, what about you?
Oh man, my original runner-up was probably going to be a game. The whole series I got into was Danganronpa, but then I realized I love and hate that game. So
No, did it cause you despair?
For what it does to me, my heart is ruined. There's some characters I still miss today, but I think my actual 30. My actual runner-up is 13 Sentinels, Aegis
Ooh,
Rim,
good one.
because that was a game I
choice.
got into fairly recently, and yeah, that's I got into a lot of visual novels apparently this year, and this one essentially is a visual novel and slash like a strategy RPG for the other portion of the game. But yeah, it's the what it does with the story as far as getting a whole bunch of different timelines and slowly piecing it together and converging them. Very interestingly and well done, and I'm at a point where like after maybe halfway through the game, every time you go through an arc or the new portion of a story opens up, you get some crazy revelation, and then you go to another arc of the story and you get another crazy revelation, and it just kind of builds on each other until it gets to its climax. And so yeah, definitely for my runner-up, because I heard a lot of people talking about it when it came out, so I really had to get on that. As far as one that I think is the top experience was one I shared with someone here, and that was River City Girls. I had the joy of experiencing that whole game all at once with Brandon while I was over there visiting him. We watched the recent indie showcase for Nintendo, and the sequels was announced, and then I realized that night that I hadn't played that game. We were trying to figure out what game to play. And so I was like, Brandon, what if we just played River City Girls? I'll just buy it right now and we'll play it. And he also had not played it at that point. So we both went into it pretty blind and had a lot more fun with it than I expected we would. And those are the kind of games you play with someone else and you really get the full experience for it rather than just playing it on your own. So I think that really helped elevate it. And just playing it with a good friend is always a good time.
Fantastic soundtrack too.
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
really-
soundtrack. The
Yeah.
characters are so fun. Having voice actor, it was like almost fully voiced. Having Kelly Mills and Kira Buckland as the main characters was just so funny. It's freaking.
Don't forget the the Arnold Schwarzenegger enemies.
Nah.
Oh yeah.
Just such a characterized way. And the fact that there's also a little guest appearance like Jacksepticeye playing Godai. And him trying not to let his Irish leak out.
Oh, his Irish totally leaks out.
All the time.
Just an overall great experience, and I'm glad I was able to play that, and the fact that we can now jump into the sequel with a lot more knowledge about it going forward. And yeah, just overall, just a really fun, well-made game.
Nice. I
River
appreciate
City
that.
Girls 2 coming to Good Vibes Arcade at launch.
I know I want to play with Amy because we did that on her channel.
That
And that was
immediately.
a good time.
It's such a fun
Coming
game.
to
I
a
played with my
stream
wife.
near you. We gotta do more beat 'em ups apparently.
Get
Yes.
the Capcom beat 'em up collection. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. Brandon, what about you?
So, in the interest of not repeating what we've literally just discussed, I swapped out my runner-up from River
Oh,
City
that's
Girls.
sweet. You chose the same
no.
thing.
I
To,
am not surprised we have one of the same.
I swapped it from River City Girls to Dragon Quest VIII.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Dragon Quest XI, as a lot of you know, was my real first dive into Dragon Quest as a series. I had played 9 before. Maybe not the one I should have started with.
Oh no.
You know, that was the first one I beat, but it's not a bad one.
Not a bad game. It's a very different take on Dragon Quest in a lot of ways. Dragon Quest XI is a true blue Dragon Quest experience, but at its absolute peak. It doesn't get any better than that. So I wanted to kind of experience the one step before that, which is really Dragon Quest VIII. And as I started playing it, I really started seeing the kind of DNA that would eventually mold itself into Dragon Quest XI. What an amazingly impressive game for the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just the sheer amount of voice acting, the storytelling, just the way it's all presented. I can't believe that this is a PlayStation 2 game. I'm still not even done with it, but I've been enjoying it so much that it had to be there on my runner-up. The fact that I had this much to say.
Yeah. How far have you gotten, if you don't mind me asking? Because I actually played and beat that game this year, too.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. I want to say I'm somewhere between 15 and 20 hours deep. It's been a while since I've played it.
Have you... I'll put it this way. Have you confronted Dulmagus yet?
No, but I
Okay.
think I'm getting close to that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
I had to spend a lot of time grinding in that first area because I got my ass kicked a lot.
Find some metal slimes, dude. Find some metal slimes.
Always.
I want to play
Yeah,
this
I'm
game
gonna-
so much, given how much I love DQ11. I always hear 11 and 8
You would
compared,
love it.
and yeah.
8 is a...
It really is amazing.
8 is a definite favorite, and the 3DS version is the way to play because there's a lot of quality of life upgrades that help that game a lot. Because in the original PS2 release, Brandon, you couldn't see what abilities you were getting in the future.
I
for your
am playing the
weapons.
PS2 version.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
So upgrade you're
I
missing.
sat down and made a decision, and it was purely based on the fact that the PS2 version had the orchestral soundtrack.
That's
the
true.
Fair
only
enough.
reason.
3DS
Fair.
does not have the orchestral soundtrack.
Yeah, that is a big downgrade. But yeah, you in the 3DS version they allowed you to pick which see what abilities you have coming up with each of the weapons. There was no random
Oh.
battles.
Oh,
3DS
wow,
has
yeah.
2 whole new party members that you
Yeah,
miss
there's
out on.
two new
PS2, which-
party members, which most agree are a bit overpowered, but they
Yeah.
kind of help break the game. There's
know,
good
I'm not-
stuff there.
I'm not far enough yet that I wouldn't be against restarting on 3DS. It's just, man, not having the orchestral soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that's
sucked.
that's the
hurts.
big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
get
especially
you.
if the difference is anywhere near as egregious as that between 11 and 11S, I can see why.
I mean, even the
not
voice
wanna give up
acting is
that
compressed in
orchestrated
some
soundtrack.
points.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's fair.
Plus, they
It takes a
actually
hit for
for
sound
whatever
quality.
reason they also recast Jessica. I think
Oh.
Jessica's original voice actor retired. So they had to
Okay.
get
Did they
somebody new.
redub the
think so.
lines?
Yeah, they redubbed all of her
Yeah.
lines with the new actress.
I mean, all the lines in the whole game.
Not for everybody, but they do
Oh.
have new lines in there. So I think that's why they're going
Okay.
for consistency.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
Really
it's really good. I might put that as my number 3 or 4, but there are aspects towards the end of the game that kind of lowered it for me. But I don't want but those are spoilers, so I don't want to say anything.
It's
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
quite the opposite of Dragon Quest 11, because as you get to the end, it just gets better.
I know it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
I think the storytelling. I'll put it this way: the storytelling gets a little too predictable for my liking.
Oh,
Fair
okay.
enough.
That's fair.
I love how this is all
It
just
is
your runner-up,
Dragon Quest.
too.
I know.
Yeah.
haven't gotten to my main one yet.
Oh, I thought this. Oh my god, I thought this was your main one. I'm sorry.
No.
That's the power of Dragon Quest, man.
I thought you had said that River City was going to be your main. You just swapped them, so I thought River City was your.
swapped it out from my runner-up. It's not on the list anymore.
Oh.
I see. Okay. Well,
Okay.
now we'll go ahead.
Oh.
Jeez.
I was gonna go
Sorry.
on with Dragon Quest 8, but go ahead.
It's going to be hard to talk about this game because this game is purely knowledge-based in terms of how you progress, because otherwise there is no progression. And that is The Outer Wilds. This game came out around the same time as Outer Worlds, and a lot of people were mixing them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you play either of those games, you play The Outer Wilds. This is a completely narrative-based game where you're in space, in the solar system, and I guess the farthest I'm willing to describe it is the fact that the entire solar system plays out in real time. So everything that's happening in space is happening on a timer in real time. If you go to a specific planet at a certain time of day, you can expect what's going to be happening when you get there. But the main reason I want to put The Outer Wilds here is because this is one of the best stories I have ever been told in a video game, bar none.
Wow.
Damn, I've heard really good things about the story in this game. Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. And like I said, the game is completely knowledge-based, so you obtain knowledge by exploring the galaxy. And when you learn things in the galaxy, that helps you go to other places in the galaxy and learn more things. And you start compounding all of this information and start putting the narrative together yourself. And I think that's one of the reasons it lands so well for me, is because, you know, you kind of have an aha moment like you would with like Ace Attorney. The game isn't telling you the story, you're figuring it out yourself, and there's a lot of power in that.
Nice.
I would highly suggest everyone here play Outer Wilds. Like, please
You're not
try
the first
it.
person to tell me that. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I've been requested to play it as part of my streaming series, for the whole request a game thing. So that's on my list. I will get to it eventually. Don't know when, but eventually.
I feel like my wife and I might enjoy playing it together, because my wife loves sci-fi narrative-driven games. She loves narrative-driven games and sci-fi, and I feel like this puts those together in a very...
I would say that's a good way to play it, because I played it alongside somebody who had played it before, and they just wanted to re-experience it so badly that they were willing to watch me play the game in its entirety.
Wow.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
So yeah, having someone next to you kind of trying to figure out the game's narrative alongside you, I think is good, because there does need to be a little discussion as you go through to try and piece together what's happening.
Cool.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to our next category. This time, Ash, who gave the best performance of 2021?
Right. So the picking the runner-up for this one was hard for me, because on one hand, an easy choice for me was Jennifer Hale as Rivet, because I've talked before about how she absolutely brought Rivet to life, but I did already talk about Rivet and Jennifer Hale, and she's an old pro, so I want to highlight actually somebody for my runner-up that really surprised me, and this goes back to something Daniel mentioned earlier, or a character Daniel mentioned earlier, Suzy Young, who played Yuffie in FF7 Remake Intergrade, and she brought Yuffie to life in a whole new way. You still have that bubbly, goofy kind of, like just kind of freewheeling version of the character, but Yoon really adds a sense of maturity and depth to Yuffie that I don't think existed in the original FF7. And she has that amazing anime scream toward the end of Intergrade, which isn't a spoiler because you've seen it in trailers, where she sinks to her knees and she sees the plate falling, and it's so good. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. So I really wanted to credit Suzy Young for bringing Yuffie to life in a whole new way. She really impressed the hell out of me. But, and I'm going to butcher this name, I'm so sorry, but my favorite performance / acting or actor of the year goes to Emmanuel Louisier Martinez, who played Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy. And man, if I could put every Guardian of the Galaxy voice actor up here, I would. I wish I could, but I can't. And if I have to pick one, it's Mantis, because this character, she's not a new character. She's an existing character, so I couldn't pick her as my favorite new character of 2021. But this version of Mantis is at once hilarious and emotionally affecting and intriguing, and she delivers her lines with such perfection that, like, I had so many laugh out loud moments. I mean, I had a bunch throughout the game anyway, but the majority of them were because of something Mantis said, and she's played with such perfection by this actor, by Martinez, who's just... This is a character who is overwhelmed by thoughts from multiple timelines. She can see into multiple timelines, into multiple universes, and so she, at any one moment, is seeing all sorts of different ways things could play out across different universes. And so she kind of gets herself confused, and she's like, oh, yeah, that happens in this timeline, doesn't it? Or no, maybe it hasn't happened yet. Or did it already happen? Stuff like that. She calls Rocket Little Fuzzy. She's like, oh, Little Fuzzy. And that pisses him off, of course. He doesn't like it. There are a few really great gags about how her and Star-Lord were married in certain time, or like one timeline. And he's like, oh, this could have been really awkward, Peter. I mean, at least this isn't the timeline where I'm your ex-wife. Something like that. I'm not selling it nearly as well as she does. But the point is, Mantis is an incredible character. This is my favorite version of her, even more than the movies. And yeah, Emmanuel Luzier Martinez, you did an incredible job bringing this character to life in the Guardians of the Galaxy games. So that is my pick for Best Actor / Performance of the Year.
Yeah, nice. For me, I had to split it down the line because I could not pick one because I love them for equal and opposite reasons. So for my runner-up, I already mentioned before, but Heisenberg, Neil Newbon, and that performance he gives, that's half the reason I love that character so much. Is like, what is it? Good evening, Ethan Winter. Like just the intonation that he does for a lot of his stuff, just sells that character. And even the trailers, when I heard him, I was like, okay, who's that? I want to know that guy. And the other one is Megan Harvey, who played Sophia in Persona 5 Strikers. Also, apparently Hootle, that we found out during the Game of the Year. She is adorable and sweet, and I love her, and she fits in so well with the rest of the cast and has a great arc in that game. She's just a good time. I really like how she just captures that sort of like harder edge, the innocence, but also like just, wants to be helpful. I don't know. There's something about it that just really was really pulled me in. But the winner, and this is not a surprise, Jennifer Hale's Rivet. She's just good. She sells it. She kills it. It's not a surprise. Jennifer Hale's amazing. We know this. Yeah. It's just like, here's another character of hers served on a silver platter. Okay, I'm gonna make this a gourmet meal, and boom, we're set. That's all I can say. Yeah. I can't really elaborate more than that. She just kills it.
It was hard not to pick her as my winner because she's Jennifer freaking Hale, and she is so amazing as Rivet. But lots of great acting this year. Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, talking about great actors and very experienced actors within the voice acting scene. I think my runner-up literally flip-flopped between characters in the same game. It was Liam O'Brien as Grimoire Weiss and Laura Bailey as Kanye.
Laura Bailey's up there too. Oh god, those two are amazing.
I don't think I would have chose this had they not completely re-recorded all their lines for Nier Replicant, and their banter with each other is some of the most memorable I've seen in a game for a very long time. And just the fact that they made Kaine even more vulgar and foul-mouthed than the original, and I respect that. I respect that about that, and it's performed so well throughout the game. It's just
I remember, just as a quick aside, I remember the first time I turned on Nier, and they have the going to the intro, and it begins with Kaine cursing out Vice from that one scene, and I'm like, what the hell am I in for? What, I've never heard this before, because it is a constant stream of F-bombs. I'm like, Jesus.
It is. They're a wonderful character, and Laura Bailey, she's voiced some of the greats. She used to be the voice of Lucina, which I really enjoy. Not anymore, but man, it was a good time.
Yeah, seriously.
But as far as the actual favorite performance, Ash had already mentioned Susie Young playing Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII, the remake in the intermission. That's essentially. I've already mentioned everything that I wanted to say about Yuffie. I had already heard her performance as Eula in Genshin Impact just a few months before. I already had a little bit of an experience with her voice beforehand. Deep contrast though, because she's very formal and just like very much more about straight face kind of character. But then you have Yuffie, who's just very fun, very playful. The performance is very well done. I mean, you see it play with her motions in the game so well. Like, for example, when she's walking over a really skinny beam and she has her arms out and she's kind of like flying across, and just those really playful moments that she and also interacting with Solon as well. Like, those really, they play off each other very well. And just an overall really great performance to a character that we've already seen and heard many interpretations from at this point, whether it's from like Kingdom Hearts or Advent Children. And this is just my favorite iteration of her. I think I'm really happy that this is the Yuffie we're going to be having going on forward with Remake Part 2 and so on. So yeah, all the props to these voice actors. Really wonderful performances this year.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
What about you, Brandon?
My runner-up is also Heisenberg. I think Derrick and I share a lot of opinions about Heisenberg.
Yeah, we do.
Man, this character.
Yeah, he's great.
Neil Newbon is amazing. He really makes that character work. So yeah, props to Heisenberg. And my number one is actually kind of an unconventional choice, but first of all, I'm here to shill Monster Hunter, but that's besides the point. I wanted to kind of draw attention to another art in the performance category, and that's mocap. All of the monsters in Monster Hunter Rise are mocapped by human beings.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
You can see clips of it. I think they've posted some on Twitter. I think there's some on YouTube. But you can kind of see how they do it, and it really is kind of incredible, because I can't imagine having to perform something that literally isn't human with my body.
Yeah.
They didn't put actual motion capture technology on a dragon to get all those movements?
No, it's too expensive.
That's weak sauce.
But yeah, I really enjoyed watching the video clips they had posted of them doing the mocap work, and I just wanted to specifically shout out all the mocap artists who do that, because y'all don't get enough credit. So there you go.
Yeah. Really quick before we move on, Derrick, I wanted to just highlight one more thing that I think we'll all agree on really quickly. I've talked before about how I think a really good melodramatic anime scream is really important, like the best screams. Adam Howden obviously has this on lock as Shulk from Xenogears, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Nikki Garcia. Did I say Xenogears? Xenoblade, sorry. Yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Nikki Garcia, who played Samus in Metroid Dread, because of the scream, capital T, capital S. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps, and I know we all agree on that, and I just wanted to highlight her because she had the best video game scream of 2021. Bar none.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ash, for our next category, what game had the best multiplayer this year?
Okay, so, and I specified this to mean it can be online or couch, whatever you want, both, doesn't matter. So I don't play a lot of multiplayer, so this is a bit of a difficult category for me, and that's going to show in my choices. My runner-up is Mario Party Superstars. It's Mario Party, baby. It's back. It's finally fun again for the first time in several years. And even more shockingly, Nintendo mostly got the online right. There is some pretty bad input delay in some of the minigames, for sure. It's not perfect. There are some hiccups when you're playing online, but not as bad as you'd think, given Nintendo's track record in this space. And so, Mario Party Superstars, I've had a blast playing with my wife, playing it at gatherings with my friends, and it's just badass couch multiplayer, local multiplayer that also happens to have a great online component. So Mario Party's back. How could I not mention it? But And here you go. This might be a bit controversial, but my pick for the best multiplayer of the year, because it has given me so many hours of fun with my friends, is Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout.
Did that come out this year? Holy crap.
Well, it didn't. So here, and I don't know if it counts. So Fall Guys came out in 2020, but their seasons 4, 5, and 6, I think, all came out this year, and they're constantly adding new content.
Okay.
So
I think you could make an argument for an ongoing game like that.
yeah, I feel like maybe you can. If it doesn't count for those of you, then just switch them. Say Fall Guys is my runner-up, and Mario Party Superstars is my winner. Whatever. But I get together with a couple of my best friends every single week and play Fall Guys, and we have just been completely enamored with all the new maps they've added. Replaying old maps really never just gets boring because of the format of the game. There are so many different shows you can play that mix up the rules and mix up which maps you're playing. I will admit that maybe isn't as fun if you're playing by yourself. It probably isn't as fun if you're playing by yourself with random people. But if you get a group of your friends that all love this game and you just kick back with a few beers or whatever beverage of your choice, alcoholic or not, and just have a good time, Fall Guys really delivers on all those fronts. It's such a good time, and it's brought my friends and I so many hours of just joy and laughter, and even when you lose, you can still root your friends on, and it's still fun. It doesn't matter if you lose, you're just there to have a good time. And I will say that when you win a crown, it is that kind of like jump up, pop up out of your sofa, like yes moment. Like it always feels good when you win a crown in that game. When you win a show, you're the last one standing. It's just a genuinely great feeling, kind of like what I would get from Rocket League, when you just get a good goal and you get a breakaway and it's all on you. You just have that moment of hype where you're like, yes, I won a crown. And yeah, so if it counts for you, it has new content all throughout 2021. It's Fall Guys for me, for sure.
Nice.
Dang, dude. You have room for one more? I've been starting to play more Fall Guys this year, too, just kind of
yes!
off and on. And,
join us!
I'm waiting to get that Bomberman skin. I really want to get that Bomberman skin.
Nice.
I think it's coming out again like in the next
There's
day
a Kana
or so.
skin, too.
Yeah, they're bringing back a whole bunch of those skins right now during their little event right now. So
yeah,
I would probably count that. Like,
yeah.
I questioned whether I could add a certain game on here as well for what I'm going to discuss in a moment because it didn't come out this year, but it was still ongoing. So
yeah,
I think it depends on your perspective.
Yeah, like when Ash said that, I was like, could I have put in Final Fantasy 14 on here? But then I was like, I didn't play any new.
It's so hard to know with service games.
The thing here with this is I didn't play any content from this year. Like if I had gotten to Endwalker and played Endwalker, then I'd put it on because it's literally a massively multiplayer, and you do run a lot of raids and stuff. Like it would make sense, but it didn't, so it doesn't matter. So I'll stick with what I originally put out here. And then for my runner-up, WarioWare Get It Together. Haven't played a lot of it, but man, I had a good time going through co-op with Amy when we streamed it.
It's a lot of fun.
It was just fun. Just had a really great time with her. But I don't like Ash. I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. There's only one winner for me. Only one possibility for me, and that's Mario Party Superstars. The game is just classic Mario Party done right with online that works 90% of the time. It just depends on somebody's internet. But local couch, local co-op, online, being able to play with you guys in a Mario Party far away.
Yeah.
God, that's nice. I wanted it for years to be able to do that sort of thing. To finally get that, it's great. So yeah, easily Mario Party Superstars. I don't even have to elaborate. It's good. It's good Mario Party online with classic stuff. Sold. Done.
What else do you need?
Yeah. So Daniel, what about you?
Yep. It's going to be a really quick turn for me because we've already expounded on these. But yeah, one of the things I questioned was whether you could say that Genshin Impact was a game that you could include, because that game came out in fall last year, but it's been constantly updated throughout the entirety of this whole year. That there's more content this year than there was when it was released. So the multiplayer in that game is actually pretty fun when you have people that you know when you're on call and chat. Just kind of collaborating to complete different objectives. The grind is real. As anyone that plays that game knows, grinding for materials, for things to level up with, it takes a while. So that would have been a runner-up, but I think my actual one from the game that came out this year was WarioWare Get It Together. And as with Derrick, my best multiplayer top one was Mario Party Superstars. Because why not?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it's a game that I've always wanted, and it's what the top 100 was supposed to be, but we didn't get that. So it literally does have like 100 different mini games, and really a good selection of mini games. I'm glad they didn't just pick from like the yearly ones, that they picked from across the whole series, because no matter what Mario Party game you think is good or bad, each game has like mini games that I think are worth playing and or a good time. So
Yeah.
being able to have that with friends online and playing for the most part very well performance as far as online play goes for a Mario Party game of all things. This game gave us a lot more than I thought we were expecting. And I'm looking forward to seeing more and see what can happen to this game in the future if there is more content in the future. I'm
Come
looking
on,
forward to that.
DLC.
Oh, please.
Come
I hope
on,
so.
DLC.
More boards, more mini games.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon. What about you? I have an idea. I have a prediction for what your two are. I'm going to see if I'm right.
Yeah,
wonder.
me too.
Well, so I'm trying to mix things up a little bit, but my runner-up, and this isn't a game I've brought up yet. My runner-up is Cruisin' Blast.
Nice.
Playing this in 4-player at the holiday party I had with my friends this year was just so much fun because the game is, I mean, for lack of a better term, the game's kind of stupid.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yeah, in the best way. And we were just all, gathered around the TV, just laughing at how absolutely ridiculous this game is. When we unlocked the Triceratops, there was a roar in the room when we started playing as the Triceratops, and it starts running, and then you start doing flips, and the animation doesn't change; it just rotates the model.
It's so good. The same thing happens to the unicorn too. It just rotates the model. I
Oh
love
my
it.
god.
It's
Yeah.
so janky, but it makes
the
for a
best
really
way.
fun party game. So we had a lot of fun with that. But of course, my number one this year is Monster Hunter Rise. I've talked about this before, but Monster Hunter is like my quintessential multiplayer game. There's no better way to bond with your friends than taking down this insurmountable force together. So I've talked about it enough, but that's my number.
I'm actually surprised that Cruisin' Blast beat out Halo Infinite for you.
It was tough. There was a lot of multiplayer games this year that I have really strong memories attached to.
I'm surprised it
just
beat
that
out Mario
one
Party.
instance. I know.
Yeah.
That one
good
instance
multiplayer
playing Cruisin'
year
Blast.
for Brandon, because it was also
I know, yeah.
from your top 3 game. What was that?
Valheim.
Yeah, Valheim.
Yeah,
That's another
Valheim.
multiplayer game. So you were eating good multiplayer wise this year.
I am. I like playing with other people.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for our final category. Ash, what was your most hype announcement of 2021? I'm sure I'm going to be shocked.
Well, my runner-up is just the fact that Metroid Dread exists 16 years later after we originally found out about it as this vague concept that never got off the ground. This doesn't happen in video games very often. I mean, rarely ever does this happen, but 16 years later, the next Metroid game was revealed during Nintendo's E3 Direct, the next 2D Metroid game, and it was Metroid 5. But it was, more importantly, Metroid Dread. It lives. Holy shit, that moment was amazing. Especially if you've been around, like all of us have, long enough to remember when Metroid Dread was originally a thing that just never got off the ground. So all the history and all the context for that easily makes it my runner-up. But as for my most hype announcement of the year, I don't know, guys, but I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, saying this for real or not? And I still can't. I still question whether this actually happened, whether this is actually real. But of course, it's Sora in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Sora being the final Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC fighter. The perfect fighter to end off on, but also personally my second most wanted Smash character of all time. The dream was made real. It happened. And he's so fun to play. He has all the different costumes from Kingdom Hearts 2, Timeless River, Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts 3. His moveset is so fun. Hollow Bastion is such a good stage that transitions into Dive to the Heart. Yeah, do I wish there was a wider music selection? Of course I do, because it's Kingdom Hearts music. But it's Kingdom Hearts music, so what we have is also still fantastic. And I kept that glimmer of hope alive, but like you, Derrick, most of me didn't believe it could actually happen. I was like, I wanted to believe, and I knew that they knew that Sora was the number one most requested, but I just didn't know if they could overcome the Disney barrier. But Sakurai is a goddamn miracle worker, and it happened. And mine was one of the many pop-offs that was heard round YouTube, round the internet. I've gone back and watched so many other reactions to Sora's reveal. I've laughed, I've cried. It's such an emotional thing for me. I love this character. Sora is one of my favorite characters of all time, and to see him finally get his due in Smash Brothers was just a dream, literally a dream come true moment for me. I can't overstate that. It was a literal dream come true. And that's easily my most hype announcement of the year, and it's not even close.
That doesn't surprise me. I think we all knew what Ashes was going to be.
Of course.
But I thought about it because it's up there. It's absolutely up there. But only enough for my runner-up. And honestly, it's kind of also a tie with Sephiroth because Sephiroth was such a shock. And I know just having that.
Sephiroth was last year, though.
Was he?
Yeah, he was Game Awards last year.
Game Awards.
Oh, God.
Late last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Send it Sora. That was made easy.
Nice.
Man, that's really nice. But Sora in the same way. Like, it's weird because it's like most hype, and it's also I never forget my reaction is just pure shock where I just my mouth just slowly opening like, oh my God.
I love watching your reaction. Like, I love just your look of just disbelief in our reaction. Yeah. It's so good.
It's just dumbfounded. No, like, oh my God, just complete, like, we're complete opposites. You're just losing your mind. I'm just like dumbfounded. Yeah, again, dumbfounded. But I got to go with the reveal that I did pop off for, the one that I got truly excited for because I didn't. It's weird. I never thought Sora would happen in a way that's like, it's just not going to happen. It's like maybe, but probably not. This one, I had given up all hope for. Never expected to see. So to get the reveal of Metroid Dread, I'm sorry, that was huge. To have this game in particular that, as you said, had been teased that we knew about, and to wait so long for any game set after Metroid Fusion was agonizing. But the fact that it finally happened and it looked so good and it did come out so good, dream come true. You can't beat that hype. A full-on game that you've been dreaming about from childhood. It makes you hopeful that maybe those games that did get canceled or didn't come around that you man, would have been cool if
I know where you're going with
that
this.
They could come back. Be wonderful, get that like maybe there is still hope in this world.
Hey, if Metroid Dread can happen, why not Mega Man Legends 3, right? So
or any other sequels that we want to see. Who knows?
Yeah.
But those are easily mine. But Daniel, what about yours?
So I'm gonna have to try and put some variety on this because obviously, we share pretty similar hype announcements as far as Sora being announced. The character that shouldn't have happened, he's here. They specifically added to the Fighters Pack Volume 2 for Sora. I love Kingdom Hearts so much, and to see him here, it just makes me. He just fits right in. It's just so nice to see. And then obviously Metroid Dread was something that I popped off for. I wasn't there, but you all should know that I was really excited for that one because we've known about Dread and the little rumblings about it for years. But I think the actual top one I have was just, I'm such an N64 kid because knowing that was coming to NSO got me really excited. Banjo's gonna be on the NSO because of this. We're gonna get Majora's Mask. We're gonna get Kirby 64 in the future. We already have Paper Mario. We're not gonna discuss the problems it has because Paper Mario doesn't deserve that.
It's good. Banjo's gonna crash every time you do a Talon Trot.
No.
Oh God.
So all the time.
Oh, God,
it's just gonna never work. Yeah. Just the fact that we're getting, I grew up with the N64. That was my first true console that I owned. I'm part of the problem because I bought the expansion pass. I bought the N64 controller that goes with it. I'm gonna be using that so much more in the future this coming year. Hopefully we get more than one game a month. We'll see in the future. But yeah, just the fact that a lot of people can just experience some of these games that I had a lot of time with as a kid. Like, there's a lot of people who don't have access to an N64. They don't have access to a lot of games that are going to be available on the system. So just to see a lot of people get excited for it, being able to enjoy these in waves as Banjo comes out, as other titles come out, Majora's Mask and beyond. It's just a really heartwarming thing to see for me, and I'm just really happy to see that there, and hopefully see more from NSO in the future, because there's just so much potential, and we never got an N64 Mini, so this is the next best thing we could possibly have asked for.
Yep.
Other than a virtual console, but that's another story.
Yep. Oh boy. Well, what about you, Brandon?
So my runner-up is actually Mario Party Superstars. I don't remember what my physical response to that was, but like Daniel, this is a game that I've wanted for forever. I was so disappointed with Mario Party the Top 100. I would have been disappointed with it even if it had boards, because it was on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Mario Party game. You want that to be on the couch with everybody, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was so excited that this got announced, and I'm happy that the game is as good as it is. Mario Party Superstars is awesome. If you like Mario Party or board games at all, like, this checks all the boxes. But much like Ash, my most hype reveal is Sora, because I absolutely love Kingdom Hearts. Sora is one of my favorite characters of all time, and I was just barely hanging on to hope that he was going to be in the game. I remember just a week before, we had a lot of friends from out of town. We were all together hanging out, and we were just all talking about the Smash reveal that was coming. We were like, is it going to be Sora? We want it to be Sora so bad. And I remember watching that with you guys and seeing the Keyblade come out of the flames and seeing that Mickey keychain. I lost my goddamn mind, because all of that hope I had held on to, it meant something. So
after all that time, it finally happened. Yeah. And that was literally right after Steve had said, Ash, I don't think it's Sora, buddy. And I'm like, I know, it's probably not.
Everybody's so convinced it was Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I know.
With the bonfire, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a moment I'll never forget as long as I live. That was like Mega Man, just about Mega Man tier for me. Like, those are both moments I will never forget for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I think the
here.
only one that came close to me, well, actually Sephiroth was pretty hype for me. I wasn't on stream for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Banjo-Kazooie, I think, is the closest I've come.
Too.
Man, if only we ever got footage of Ash seeing Mega Man revealed.
I wish. Believe me, my wife wishes she had too. She's like, I wish I had recorded it.
If she had recorded that, we could have popped that up somewhere, like lost footage. It's like,
I wish she had
video.
recorded it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was the only time I ever reacted to Smash reveal was with you guys, was with Sora, and I'm glad that's the one, because that was a lot of emotions were flying during that one, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that, we have gotten through all 10 categories of our Game of the Year 2021 discussion. We've given our top 3 games. We've given some of our favorites in different categories. It is done. 2021 is in the bag.
All right.
That is crazy. So now it's time to look forward to 2022, as we're going to do another one of these discussions talking about what's coming up. That'll come in a little bit. We'll get to it. We need a rest. We've just done 4 hours of discussion between both of these things. There was a lot to talk about, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. I know I had fun. I know all these guys had fun.
Oh, for sure.
It's a good time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching our Game of the Year 2021 discussions. And if you enjoyed this, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming. But even just subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell helps us a ton. In fact, subscribing can also net you a Switch OLED once we hit 75,000 subscribers. All you have to do is be subscribed, and we'll pick a random winner, and that could be you, and enjoy a Switch OLED. And, a lot of the games we talked about would look pretty good on the Switch OLED. So definitely keep that Yep, there you go. Thank you,
Oh,
Brandon.
there it is.
That one.
And
Definitely.
also make sure to let us know in the comments what your favorite picks, what your
That
picks
too.
for all these categories were as well, because we'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love the interaction. So let us know those things. And until next time, bye.
See ya.
Till we
Bye.
meet again.